Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Friday's DC Universe Daily Live. And today we're going back to try and piece together what Zack Snyder's original plan was for the DCEU. Now, some of it we know because we saw, and some of it we never saw, but he's told us about. So let's take a look at this. So obviously, we start with Man of Steel. That film wasn't tampered with. The vision wasn't tampered with. So we were always getting Man of Steel first. Now, I'm not quite sure, and I don't know if anyone in the comments can tell me this, was Snyder's original plan to do a Batman and a Superman movie? Now, he's told us he never wanted to call the movie Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice. Neither did Terrio. But did he want to do like a Man of Steel 2 after Man of Steel? Remember in the MCU they did Iron Man, then Iron Man 2, which I never liked. I never liked having two of the same character movies being back to back. Personally, I wouldn't have wanted an MOS 2 straight after MOS. I would have wanted an original Batman movie. Now, Zack's never mentioned that he would have gone for an original kind of Batman solo movie after MOS. So I guess we have to assume he was always doing a Batman and a Superman crossover because I don't know anything different. Derpy 501 ST, hey man, good afternoon. It's afternoon. It's around 5 p.m. here in Cyprus. Running late today. I did a really long Doctor Who video that took a long time to upload. So the DC Universe Daily Live is coming at you now. There's no updates. There's no news. So we're going back to piece together Zack Snyder's original plan. So let's assume Man of Steel was definitely a thing first, then some kind of Batman and Superman movie, unless he originally planned for a Batman solo movie. I'm not sure. Now, the Suicide Squad movie we got from David Ayer, which wasn't from David Ayer, wasn't the movie that Zack or David wanted. We know that they interfered in the movie. Originally, Suicide Squad would have definitely been the third movie, and we even would have got a Steppenwolf cameo and some kind of hints for the Justice League future. We didn't get that. We got a very, very different movie. But Suicide Squad was always going to be the third movie. Wonder Woman was always going to be the fourth movie. Now, whether or not that was going to have some, let's say, more cameos in it, more kind of hints towards the future of the Snyder plan, we'll never know. Derpy, why do they do this with these notifications? Go away. Derpy 501 ST, it's the morning for me, sounds good on the topic. Thank you, Derpy 501 ST, and you're very welcome to be here. We have 3 viewers, we have 2 viewers now. Alurk is just gone, good riddance. Right. So Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think Wonder Woman would have been a slightly different film if the studio didn't interfere. I think, look, it's a great movie, but I think we would have had certainly some hints and clues to kind of the franchise that Snyder was attempting to build up. So we know that Justice League wasn't Snyder's plan, but basically you're looking at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, Snyder has alluded that he had a scarier plan for the first Justice League movie. Now, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut isn't the scary version, and maybe if it was left up to Snyder, we would have had a scarier version, whatever that means, by the way. And I think we're talking about maybe kind of Lois and Bruce getting it on. I don't know if that was in the first film, second film. So anyway, Zack Snyder's Justice League would have been more like the Justice League movie we would have got after Wonder Woman. So what was going to happen after that? Again, I haven't looked into it deep enough because we do know that Zack wanted someone to direct a Flash origin movie and a Cyborg solo movie as well. So I'm going to assume after Justice League, we were going to get the Batman solo movie from Ben Affleck. Ronnie Dodge, hey Mick, hey Ronnie. Ronnie Dodge, looks dark where you are. It's nighttime here, my friend. You can see me, right? You can see me, right? You can see me clearly. Let me know. because you're worrying me now, but it is dark outside, yeah. It's just gone past 5 p.m. here. So you're in the UK, so it's 3 p.m., yeah. So it's dark, but from what I can see, the picture looks all right. John Haymick, Ronnie Dodge, yeah, that's what I mean. It's dark outside. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for clarifying that. So I think we would have had, did I say how? Hey to John? Hey, John. But yeah, so I think we would have had a solo Batman movie, the one that was going to be written and directed and starring Ben Affleck, the whole Deathstroke thing. So I think that would have been the next movie. Then we would have had Justice League 2. I think this is the way we're going. I'm not quite sure. So maybe after Justice League 2, we would have had the Cyborg movie. Maybe. You see, I'm lost now. I'm just trying to put the pieces together. But yeah, so I think we would have got a Cyborg movie. Ronnie Dodge, have you seen the stuff coming out this morning? A certain player is having his contract terminated and being sued. Right. So the club haven't actually said that. They said they're looking into what they can do about it legally and they won't make any further comment. Now, the solicitors believe that they have grounds to dismiss him immediately. Now, I don't know if they'll sue him or not. Look, for Ronaldo to take this decision to do this interview is insane to me. Maybe he just wanted to go and he wanted to force their hand. I simply don't know, but it's weird. Have you seen the stuff coming? All right, John, what do you think James Gunn's secret DC project is? I think it's checkmate. I've been hearing about this like a few months ago. I'm not sure if this secret movie is actually a thing, but if it is, it's got to be checkmate. I think it's the Amanda Waller thing that was reported on a few months ago. Ronnie Dodge, I'm going to watch the Enchanted sequel later. Yes, it's on Disney Plus, isn't it? Yes, that'll be an interesting film to watch. Look, I'm disappointed it's not released in movie theaters. I think it's pathetic. Typical Disney. Smash the like button, please. So yeah, I think after Justice League 2, we would have had the Cyborg movie. So I think after Cyborg, we would have had Justice League 3. Now, Justice League 3 is the film where we finally see Superman becomes Superman. He leads a metahuman army and the Justice League against Darkseid and the New Gods. And basically, Superman, Clark, and Lois have a son who ultimately is named Bruce and will become Batman. John, what is checkmate? You need to go and watch the Smallville episode, Absolute Justice. I'm surprised because you're a Smallville fan, and it's referenced there. But checkmate is a secret organization run by Amanda Waller, and she has different agents. So you have the White Queen, the Red Queen, and in fact, in Smallville, Martha Kent was mysteriously the Red Queen, and we know that she tried to stop Waller from getting the Book of Rayo. A bit confusing, but you should check out Absolute Justice if you want to know more about checkmate. But deeper than that, check it out. There's actually an episode of Smallville a few episodes after that called Checkmate. So if you want to know more about checkmate, you can find out on Google, of course. But Smallville is always a great reference to find out more stuff about DC. Smallville's the reason that I found out more stuff. I had more DC knowledge. Smallville was really, really good. So that's what checkmate is. So where was I? Yeah. So I think after Justice League 3, I think we were getting the Flash movie and Zack was going to incite a Flashpoint scenario so the new leadership or the new person running the franchise could start something of their own. Kind of what Hamada was going to do and maybe kind of what Gunn and Safran are going to do anyway. We don't know about that. So I think that's how the Snyder plan actually I think that was it. And they would have made a decision whether they were going to allow him to carry on. So would this have been successful? First of all, it would have been better than the DCEU we have now. The DCEU we have now doesn't work at all as a franchise. We know that. So I think Zack's plan would have worked. I think the box office would have been slightly better. Who knows what kind of things we would, how the audiences would have kind of received this in the end. We know at the beginning people didn't like the Snyderverse, but maybe as we got forward and forward, people would have kind of got into it a bit. Clearly, it was never going to make the money that they wanted. So for me, that's pretty much what the Snyder plan was going to be. And also for me, it's kind of a shame that we never got it, because I think it would have been at least more interesting, as I say, than we actually got. And, that's a shame. That's a shame because, we started on this Snyder journey. We started on the David Goyer and Nolan journey with Man of Steel, and they left. I know their names were on some of the other movies, but that's just because they started the franchise. That's the only reason that was a thing. So yeah. So it's just a little bit of a tragedy. But I mean, that is in the past, of course. Now, I don't believe they're going back to Snyder. Obviously, logically, you just can't see them going back to Snyder ever. And who knows? Who knows what they're thinking, what they're planning? We're all here. We're all in the dark right now. It's been a very interesting few weeks since James Gunn and Safran took over. John, did you know Amy Adams was in Smallville? Yes, she played a young woman with pretty kind of an eating disorder, and she created the kryptonite milkshake, of course, and she started becoming this beast, and she got hungrier and hungrier. It was a great performance, but Amy has never delivered a poor performance in her life. She's one of the best actresses in the world. So yes, of course I know that, John. I know everything, especially about Smallville. Smallville was my obsession. Smallville was a time in my life where I needed something to focus on, something to love, something to feel a part of. And Smallville was very important to me. Of course, already a Superman fan, Smallville was an amazing time for all people. I mean, the fandom, what the show was, earning the right to become a superhero show in later seasons, didn't just jump and cheat their way into being a superhero show. First, it was a Superman prequel show. And slowly but surely, as we went on, we had our own Justice League in Smallville. And that's amazing. So, yes, and by the way, Smallville had a lot of Superman cameos. We had Dean Cain. We had Mark McClure, who played Dax who was Jimmy Olsen in the original Superman movies, with Christopher Reeve. Of course, we had Christopher Reeve. I call him Sir Christopher Reeve. He's not officially Sir Christopher Reeve, but actually, he was born in the UK. He could have been knighted. They never knighted this man. It's amazing to me. Sir Lenny Henry's a sir, but Christopher Reeve isn't a sir. Work that out. I'll never understand that. So Smallville had some amazing guest stars. We had both the Ashmore boys, of course, which was really cool. One obviously was in the X-Men as well, so that was cool. But there's so many great cameos in Smallville, of course. Smallville was just a great show. So, yeah, I just now want to leap from what the Snyder plan was going to be to what we think this next plan's going to be. For example, James has teased that there's going to be one defined story throughout multiple platforms for the new DC universe. But what story is he going to develop? What story would you develop? And there's lots of different stories you could do here. Obviously, it's one story. He's not going to throw a multitude of stories at us, but I think whatever the story is, I think it's going to be very, very James Gunn. And could we be going for a JSA type of story? John, and Jimmy Olsen from Superman the movie was in Supergirl the movie. That's right. And Mark always said he never understood what he was doing in the movie. They wouldn't even allow his character to mention Superman. And did you know Christopher Reeve was supposed to play Superman and Clark in Supergirl? He was supposed to meet Supergirl and introduce her to the world. But in the last moments, Christopher decided it wasn't right. He didn't feel right being in Supergirl, which is a shame because they would have created a cinematic universe there. Because clearly, if Superman's in that film, it wouldn't have flopped. And it wouldn't have flopped. And it did flop. And I love Supergirl. I've got a soft spot. After that film, I had such a crush on Helen Slater. I thought she was a great Supergirl. And I still watch that movie today. And as I say, it's not a perfect movie by any set of the imagination, but I do like Supergirl. It does have a special place in my heart. Why did it flop? Was it because the movie was bad or because people weren't interested in Supergirl? I guess it was a little bit of both, unfortunately, but I really like that film. I think it's a really, really good superhero film. But obviously, not many people agree with me on that. But yeah, I will always have a soft spot for the Supergirl film. Really an all-star cast as well. Faye Dunaway, for example. Some really good actors in that film. So what a shame that that film wasn't a success. So yeah, it's pretty clear that I don't know. I think that James will use maybe a smaller story so it can be expanded, because there's a lot of stories that James Gunn can choose from the graphic novels, from DC lore, to implement for the first story. John, maybe Supergirl will be in the next Superman movie. Maybe. You could literally toss a coin and you could call heads or tails, because who knows? And, is Sasha Calle going to be that Supergirl? That's another question. It all depends if we're sticking to this timeline. If we jump to another timeline, then she may not be Supergirl, and that may free them up to cast someone else. Me personally, Supergirl would have been involved in the DCEU from the very, very beginning. And it's kind of a shame that wasn't a thing, considering Zach's prequel comic with like the missing Kryptonian on all of that. So I would have actually had her in Man of Steel. I would have used the prequel comic story as a pre-credits sequence in Man of Steel. That would have been a really awesome, fun thing to do. Because why just put that in a prequel comic? Why not add that to your freaking movie in the first place? Because it's a good idea. I like it. So why not use it? And, I think, in a modern day Superman franchise, Supergirl and Superman should be there together. And then she can spin off to her own movie if they want. Or maybe a Supergirl, maybe with Superman. Either way, I don't mind. But, these two have got to be part of the next DC universe. Because if you read Supergirl in the comics, she's a really, really good character. And, really, even though I like the Supergirl film, they've never really done her right in live action. And I feel that the Supergirl show really missed the point about who Supergirl is. Because Ballant is obsessed with Team Supergirl, Team Superman, Team this, Team that. And it gets a bit boring in the end when you're doing the same thing. But maybe, John, we will see Supergirl in the Superman movie. We don't know how far along they are in the development of that film. We know that Amy Adams apparently hasn't been contacted. I'm still saying Deborah Ann Woll would be a great Lois Lane. Really would like her. She really is a good actor, and she's absolutely stunning. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe Amy is involved, or maybe it's someone else. It's a mystery, isn't it? It's a mystery. So, and basically some news which is obviously not DC related. If you're a Doctor Who fan, Children in Need tonight, they will reveal Ncuti Gatwa's new companion, and I'm really, really hyped about that. And so when do I think we'll start getting more news about DC Universe? Will we have to wait until the DCEU movies are done, until they can reference what they're planning? Or will they give us a clue before the end of this year, beginning of next year? Short Circuit, there is a heavy rumor that Ezra Miller will continue as Flash because of his performance in the Flash movie. Unfortunately, Short Circuit, you've been looking at the Flash film news, who are very, very, and home of DCU, who are very biased towards Ezra Miller. It isn't a real rumor. Nobody knows. I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen with Ezra Miller at the end of the day. They know the problems with Ezra Miller. They know the problems with Amber Heard. And of course, if the new DC universe is a brand new universe, these things won't be a problem because you won't have to use Amber. You won't have to use Ezra. So I can't tell you here or now that Ezra is definitely involved going forward. But on the same hand, I can't tell you that he's definitely not involved. Nobody knows. So these are people spreading things that they want to happen. So basically, we can dismiss those rumors and say we simply don't know what Ezra's future is going to be in the new DC universe. But why don't you tell me, Short Circuit, do you want Ezra Miller to stay? John, how is Sasha Calle in the Flash movie? Yeah, she's good. She's solid. She's okay. I mean, I'm not going to say that she delivers an Oscar noteworthy performance, but she's okay. But I mean, I wouldn't say she made a great impression on me. Short Circuit, but everyone in the test screening said that Ezra's performance was too good. And if the general audience liked his performance, he might continue. Short Circuit. Who have you spoken from the test screen? Have you spoken to people from test screenings? I'm not going to tell you that the performance isn't good, but who told you that? So you think just because his performance in the test screenings were good and people said his performance was good, that he's automatically going to keep his job? Basically, Short Circuit, you're making assumptions. You're making an assumption that the Flash from the DCEU will be the same Flash from the DC universe, which we don't know. And we don't know what Zaslav, and make no mistake, Ezra Miller is a Zaslav problem, not a James Gunn and Peter Safran problem. So they will make a decision on that. It will be very interesting. But just because you've heard some people say that people at the test screening liked Ezra Miller in the film, it doesn't mean he's going to continue as the Flash. And to me, I'm astounded that you think just because he may have done really well and test screening audiences liked his performance, that you think that all of a sudden means he keeps his job. Unfortunately, that's not the way these things work. Or maybe fortunately, that's not the way these things work. So at the end of the day, hearing rumors on the internet from people who want Ezra Miller to stay, who keep on saying Ezra Miller is innocent, doesn't mean that Ezra Miller's going to stay. You don't know. They don't know what the plans are for the Flash going forward. So that's something that I will keep you apprised of when I find more out. But I don't think we're going to find out anytime soon what the future for Ezra Miller is. So we're just going to have to be very, very patient, my friend, and see what happens. Jeff Hill, will Pattinson become the new DCEU Batman? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Is it possible? Yes. It's a low possibility. Right. Someone damn well like these videos. You come in, you don't even press like. Come on, I'm talking to you. I'm answering your questions, and you won't even press like. This is outrageous. Press the like button now. Short Circuit, if there is a replacement of Flash, will they again start from the origin, or will it continue? If there is a replacement of Flash, I think you'll probably find they'll start in a ready built universe, right? I would assume that, that because it depends, right? If they use the Flash movie to jump into a new timeline, I think it will be an already established timeline. And I do think that's the best way to go, rather than having to start again, having to do origin stories. And I don't think that's what they're going to do. So thank you for the likes, by the way. But yeah, so I think it will be an established franchise, Short Circuit, if they do change the actor. But like I say every day, who knows what they're planning? There's no leaks anymore. Nobody knows what's going on. And people saying they know stuff are just saying stuff that they want to happen, and they're trying to make it a reality. And unfortunately, we are in the dark. We are in the dark about these things, and we're just going to have to be patient. As I keep on saying, it's all right to theorize about these things as long as we don't mislead each other about these things. A theory is one thing, but telling people you know what's going to happen when there's no way you can know what's going to happen, it's misleading people. And for me personally, that's wrong. But that's my opinion on it, that it will be an established world, however they do it. And hopefully, the sooner they can clarify a few things, the better. Obviously, it's difficult because they've got 4 movies from another franchise still coming out. Do they matter? Don't they matter? Well, financially, they met at a WB. Obviously, the Black Adam result isn't great. John, remember when they recasted Tony's friend in Iron Man 2 and no one complained? Yeah. So, for example, that was basically no explanation, no timeline change. It was just a new actor because Robert Downey Jr. and the original actor didn't get on. Short Circuit, can we get some announcement in CXP 22? We could do, but I think they're just going to use those movies just to promote the movies coming out. So I expect a Flash movie trailer, I expect an Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom trailer, and maybe some scenes from Shazam, Fury of the Gods. But I think that expo you're talking about is mainly to promote those movies. Short Circuit, but in this case, Flash is one of the main characters of JL. Will direct replacement work? Well, yeah, here's the thing. That's what I mean. That the original plan, right, they were going to use the multiverse to replace Superman with Supergirl, weren't they? So they were going to replace Affleck with Keaton. So they were going to use the timeline for that. So I don't think just, we've changed an actor and we're not going to mention it, is going to happen. I think we're definitely jumping on either from the DCEU, from the Flashpoint story to a new timeline, or they're just going to start again. Of course, if you look at Black Adam and that relaunches Henry Cavill's Superman, clearly these old DCEU movies, the old franchise, has some connection with the new franchise. Maybe. Probably. It's definitely confusing. So, yeah, I don't think they're just going to do an automatic replacement if he goes. I don't know if Ezra's going or not. I'm not suggesting he's going or he's not going because I don't know. So this thing about test screenings and the Flash movie being received really well in test screenings is really, really good, but it doesn't mean anything. None of it means anything. I mean, we know Black Adam. It's interesting because we know Black Adam wasn't received very well with test screening audiences. In fact, they said the action was quite good, but the movie, they didn't really like the rest of the movie. And apparently Batgirl did test better than Black Adam, which is insane, which says a lot about Black Adam. But, you know, it is a case of being patient with what they're going to do. It does delay things because these 4 movies have to be released. It's a shame these movies were just not released this year. It would have been better unless they wanted to alter them on purpose. I don't know. Short Circuit, with all due respect to Keaton, I think Keaton should not be DCU Batman, ideally because he's already 71 and WB is planning for next 10 years. They can keep Keaton in separate universe. Well, I don't think Michael Keaton now will be the main timeline Batman. That was a stupid idea from Walter Hamada. Short Circuit and set up Batman Beyond. I don't know if that's the case, by the way. That would be awesome. I don't know if they jettison him altogether or use him in some other way, or maybe the way you're suggesting. John, Thor Love and Thunder had great test screenings and it was a bad movie. Made money though, didn't it? Made money, made about 800 million, but you're right. But ultimately, I think the reviews for Thor Love and Thunder were a little bit mixed. I think they were more popular than negative, positive than negative. But yeah, test screenings don't mean very much at the end of the day. But when you talk about Thor Love and Thunder test screenings, I think Disney tests their own movies and don't put their movies out there as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not sure about that, John. As far as I'm aware, Disney tests their own movies and don't let audiences look at the movies. That's what I gather. Could be wrong, of course. But Thor Love and Thunder did okay. Short Circuit, but Thor Love and Thunder was not an origin story, but Black Adam was an origin story, so we can't really compare. Also, Marvel Universe is now already set. I think you can, look, what we're saying is, Short Circuit, is that, the Flash movie, right? The Flash movie is not an origin story, by the way, right? It expands on the Flash we've already seen. We're saying just because the Flash is having good test screenings doesn't mean it's going to be a great movie when it's finished up, or that people are going to like it. That's what John's trying to say, that apparently For Love and Thunder had great test screenings, but wasn't the greatest of movies. So I think it actually, Short Circuit, it is actually comparable. I mean, I'm not overly confident about these 4 Hamada movies coming out next year. I think the DCEU is going to go out with a whimper instead of a bang, and maybe that's good for the new DC universe. Not good for the pockets of Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery, but definitely good for the franchise coming forward. Because, I mean, it's not like there's going to be, people are going to expect too much. Obviously, James Gunn brings hype. I hope it's great. I hope it's great because we need it to be great, because the DCEU has been killed slowly. Basically, they've strangled the life out of the DCEU. It's a lifeless franchise. And maybe if Snyder was allowed to finish his idea, maybe it would have been a lot better. But right now, it's going out with a whimper and not a bang. There's not much excitement and hype unless you're a DC fan. With, general audiences are not interested in the DCEU, and that shows. That shows with the Black Adam box office, considering Superman is in a post-credit scene and people didn't rush to that movie a lot more. That's interesting to me. Short Circuit, I don't know, but I still have a feeling that 2023 can be a good year for DC. It might not happen that movies crosses 1 billion, but they will do moderate to good. Yeah, moderate to good isn't good enough, I'm afraid, Short Circuit. This is WB's biggest IPs, and they should be doing better. But unfortunately, because of what the DCEU is, because it's had 3 or 4 leaders there with different ideas, as I say, the life has been sucked out of it. So, yeah, it may do from moderate to good, but it isn't good enough. But thankfully, because we're heading to a brand new universe of sorts, it doesn't matter about the future. It won't hurt the future, but it will hurt the kind of money WB Discovery can make. And again, our general audiences, we know DC fans we're always excited for DC content, but is the general audience excited for the 4 DCEU movies coming out next year? I don't think that they are. And I love DC and I want general audiences to be happy. But thankfully, we have a new vision, which means whatever these movies do doesn't matter. Ultimately, it would be good if those movies did well. But ultimately, it doesn't hurt the future, because that's the past. That's the beauty of this. Unfortunately, studios, well, not unfortunately, but studios are not charity cases. They need to make money, and this is the biggest IP. And the IP hasn't done very well. They're the facts, whether you like the movies or not, whether you make excuses about box office. Short Circuit, whatever the box office results come, they shouldn't change their plan. They should stick with their plans. Yeah, Short Circuit, it isn't going to alter their plans, because their plan is nothing to do with the 4 DCU movies coming out next year. That is the Hamada movies. They're the Hamada movies, right? What they're planning is the future. So no, it will have nothing to do with that. John, how would you end the DCEU at the end of Aquaman 2 if you was in charge? Well, let's get this clear, John. We don't know if they're ending the DCEU or they're jumping to another universe. But how do you end the DCEU? I think, listen, you just end the story naturally. Basically, all the heroes in that world carry on doing what they're doing. Aquaman 2 has a natural ending, and that's the end. Because if you were going to do a big movie to end the franchise, that's different. But it doesn't look like they're planning to do that. So again, Aquaman 2 just ends in a whimper rather than a bang, and we just move on. And I think people are finding that very difficult. People are are a little bit confused about what the DCEU and DC Universe will be. And I understand that confusion because it's very difficult for them to give us clarity with 4 movies from the old regime coming out next year. So if I was in charge, I would want to get away from those films as soon as possible. There is no consumer excitement for those films. So basically what that says is they need to start afresh. They need to get to work as soon as possible and make people forget about the DCEU. Because again, as we see from Black Adam, the usual problems. They've taken a movie and let an actor be in charge, put his own people there. It hasn't worked out. You can see the problems within that movie, even though it's enjoyable, and we all enjoyed it to a point, but we can see that there are problems with that film. It's because, again, you allow The Rock to choose the director, the writers, and it doesn't work out as well. And also, the question is, should he have been allowed to dictate the fact that Black Adam has a movie instead of Black Adam being the villain in the first Shazam movie and being a recurring villain in the other Shazam movies, right? Should he have been allowed to dictate that? I'll answer that question. No, he shouldn't have never been put in charge of what happens to Black Adam. That's my opinion. But I think the DCEU just ends, they just continue. It's like Smallville. Superman, he opens up his top, he's Superman, it finishes. I don't think you really need a grand ending because Snyder's gone. They've moved away from that thing, and there's not really a plan because most of the movies were standalone under Hamada anyway. Obviously, the Flash movie will have a lot more connectivity to that franchise. But I'm certainly not saying that the DCE, that franchise is done. It may kind of just jump off to the new franchise. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could give you all more answers. But answers are coming. Short Circuit, yes, I'm grateful to The Rock that he brought back Henry Cavill, but still I'm confused of the fact Rock wants Black Adam universe, and this is what I don't want, honestly. Well, you can't have a separate DC universe, and he's not going to be allowed to do that. I think his message was mixed up during the marketing of Black Adam. He started framing things like phase 1 of basically trying to talk about his own franchise. So I don't know. Ultimately, what's going to happen here, because it looks like his JSA characters may get some spin-offs, right? We know Atom Smasher has there's some announcement soon about Atom Smasher, which I find totally strange. But I think the JSA characters have got more chance of spin-offs than we may not even see this version of Black Adam again. It's interesting. But Hiram Garcia and those people who made that movie are saying they're excited and things are coming. We'll have to wait and see. It is a bit strange. And it's strange that considering we're launching to a new kind of creative kind of string and they bring back Superman in the Black Adam movie from the DCEU, that's a bit weird. Kind of hints that they're not totally closing off the old franchise. But I'm happy to wait and see before I judge what they're actually planning. I believe there will be some kind of context to all of this before the end of the year, I would assume. Because they know people are confused. They know people don't know if there's a brand new universe coming or we're continuing from the old universe. It's just strange. And, I think going forward, you do need more clarity. It's good that James Gunn, is holding all the information and doesn't allow scoopers to leak it and release it. But there is a confusion from the fan base. And if we're confused, imagine how confused general audiences are going to be. And this confusion can go away with just a little bit of clarity from them. Again, the matter is confused even more because of these 4 movies coming out next year and how much they actually matter to the future. That's an interesting thing as well. So these are questions not just that I've got and what you've got. Everyone's got them. Everyone's asking the same questions. And they know this. And it puts them in a bit of a pickle because of these 4 movies coming out next year. But ultimately, I feel they know they're going to have to clarify some, but not all situations. Short Circuit, I was disappointed with the fact that they treated Dr. Fate. I mean, Dr. Fate is so much powerful. Ken Nelson is the most popular Dr. Fate. Are you saying, Short Circuit, you wished he was more powerful in the movie? You didn't like how he was portrayed in the movie? Is that what you're saying, Short Circuit? I think that's what I can see from your message, that you're not that impressed with Dr. Fate. Personally, I preferred the Dr. Fate from Smallville Absolute Justice. I actually think they did a better job. But then Jeff Johns, an actual comic book writer, wrote that story, and he knows the comics. The people who wrote Black Adam don't know the comics so well, and that's the problem. You know, Wonder Woman, the first one's a great movie because Alan Heinberg, a Wonder Woman writer, co-wrote the story and the screenplay. That's why that movie works a lot more. Short Circuit, what about the post-credit scene of Black Adam, and how will they expand that scene? Or was it only a fan service? Right. Henry Cavill is back as Superman, right? Somehow. Now, I don't know how. So, no, it wasn't fan service. That was to announce that he's back. That's to relaunch Superman in DC Universe. DC Universe. How they're going to do that, I don't know. They haven't told us what they're going to do, really. John, I preferred the Dr. Fate from Smallville also. Yeah, I think like the costumes better in Black Adam, the outfit, but I think the actual storytelling was much better. This is what I mean. Black Adam is entertaining, but it's cheap, lazy, and condensed. That they don't expand on the JSA enough. They're literally just there. And this is what critics were saying about this movie, and this is why the Rotten Tomato scores was rotten. I agree with the reviews, to be honest, but I enjoyed the movie as a DC fan. But yeah, it isn't pretty. It isn't pretty. You can tell that film wasn't a very good film at the beginning, and they tried to fix it after WBD came in. And that's why I said. So you can see the movie's messy. You can say you enjoyed it. As I say so many times, I enjoyed Superman 4 and Masters of the Universe, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to admit they're bad movies. Ronnie Dodge, Mick, I'm excited to see who the Doctor's new companion. Yeah, I've done a video about that, Ronnie, and I'm very, very excited. It will be announced on Children in Need tonight. Very exciting, because Doctor Who and Children in Need have had a connection since the Patrick Troughton era of Doctor Who. So very, very excited. It just could be a random inclusive casting, someone we've never heard of, could be a stunt casting, could be a Billy Piper, or not Billy Piper, but someone of that ilk, Catherine Tate, someone of that ilk, or it just could be an unknown. It could be anything. It could be David Tennant, could be Catherine Tate herself. Who knows? So yeah, I'm willing to accept whatever decisions they make, but I'm excited to find out who it is. Ronnie Dodge, I'm guessing we will see Ncuti Gatwa at Children in Need as well. Maybe we'll get to see some kind of scene, although I doubt it, from the actual anniversary. Who knows? But I'm so excited. I'm really in a Doctor Who zone right now. I'm so proud to love this show. And as I keep on saying, nearly 60 years, it means there's going to be some things about the show in some areas you don't like, but I celebrate it all, and I'm so proud to be a fan of it. It's brilliant. It shouldn't work. It's an idea and concept that if you brought to a studio or network, they would laugh you out the building, but somehow it works. Short Circuit. Also, I was disappointed by the fact that we didn't even get to listen a single dialogue regarding Shazam in Black Adam movie yet. And again, this is down to The Rock. This is what happens when you allow people like Margot Robbie and The Rock to run their own movies. And you see how they go wrong, because these people are barely actors, right? Margot is a great actor, to be fair, but she doesn't know how to produce a movie or where to take a DC movie or franchise. Hamada and Emmerich, mostly Emmerich, made these mistakes twice with Birds of Prey and Black Adam. You shouldn't have allowed these people to run what was going on. And you could see the problems. Birds of Prey's a flop. Black Adam is not a flop, but the box office isn't great at all and the reviews are bad. There's a reason for that. So these are the things that these, like Zaslav and Gunn and Safran, won't be making these mistakes. It's going to be their vision. They're totally in charge. So these things won't happen again. But Short Circuit, I totally agree with you with the problems. Yeah, no, you know, Shazam maybe should even play some part in that movie. It is ridiculous. It really is. He's happy to stick the JSA in there, but he's not happy to put Shazam in there, and it's ridiculous. I couldn't agree more. And that's definitely down to The Rock. And it is disappointing. Yeah, there are issues with Black Adam. We can't pretend that there's not. And at the end of the day, that's why the box office is the way it is. Short Circuit. Henry Cavill once said that Black Adam should not fight Superman first. Black Adam versus Shazam should come first. And I agree with this statement of Henry Cavill. Well, I haven't heard him say that, but yeah, he is right. If he said that, he is right, really. Yeah, of course Shazam and Black Adam should fight. And, you know, they can't just jump to a Superman Black Adam fight. But according to The Rock, Shazam and Black Adam will fight. Basically, the future makes us all truth tellers or, you know, liars. So we're going to see what the plan is in the context of what about the DCEU is going to stick with the new DC universe and how one thing's got to do with the other. But yeah, look, Black Adam has issues, and allowing The Rock to be in charge of that movie is problematic. Allowing The Rock to decide to do a standalone Black Adam movie is problematic, my friends. And yes, Short Circuit is making some really good points there, and I couldn't agree more. So you have got something more to say. Short Circuit, why are people hyping Black Adam versus Superman so much? Yeah, I'm also hyped with this fight, but Black Adam versus Shazam should be equally hyped. Well, listen, Superman's one thing, and Shazam, unfortunately, is something else. And that's why it's being hyped more, because Superman is Superman, and Shazam is Shazam. That's why it's being hyped up like that. You can kind of understand people's excitement. But let's see what they do going forward. We don't actually know what's going to happen. So I'm sure they understand that like the new leadership, I'm sure they understand that Shazam has to fight Black Adam. If they're continuing with these iterations of these characters, then everyone knows Shazam and Black Adam have to fight first. But, you know, these are the issues with the old DCEU. And you can see it all there with the stance of making a Black Adam movie by allowing Johnson to do whatever he wants. These are mistakes. And Short Circuit can see it, I can see it, and many people can say they enjoyed the film, as I did, but the film and the decision-making still has many, many problems. I shall be wrapping up the live show, the DC Universe Daily Live, very, very shortly. So there's 7 of you in the chat. So if there's anything more to say, please say it or forever hold your peace. So we started off today's show talking about Snyder's original plan. And then we just had some random conversations about DC, and some other subjects kind of slipped in there, which is fine. And I've enjoyed answering your questions and responding to your comments, as I always do. John, I did like at the end of Black Adam, he got the classic black and gold costume. That was very, very cool. Yep. I mean, look, he doesn't exactly look like comic book Black Adam in terms of him, in terms of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But yeah, that was cool. Short Circuit, in comics, Atom Smasher and Black Adam has a very good relationship. I think they can expand their friendship more. Yeah, that would be cool. That's very comic book accurate. And it's good that Atom Smasher is in that movie. Short Circuit, I also didn't like the costume at the end, especially the cape. Ah, well, one of you just said they liked that costume and you said you didn't. Interesting. I mean, I have watched it a few times, but I will give that costume a closer look. But to be fair to Black Adam, it is a good time in the cinema despite its problems, and people have gone back to rewatch it. In fact, although the box office is small, the film has actually had really good legs in many, many territories around the world. So it's clear people have enjoyed the movie, even though for me it does have issues. Short Circuit, yes, it was good time in theatres to watch Black Adam. I watched 3 times and I enjoyed every time. Yeah, it's very, very enjoyable. And I think people are genuinely going back to see it because they enjoyed it. And that's great. And I think the best thing about it is Lon Wolf's, if that's his name, Lon Balfe, I think his name is, soundtrack. That guy's soundtrack is one of the great DCEU soundtracks. It was so good. Abraham Herrera. Hello, Abraham. Hey, Mick. It's a shame because the visuals in Black Adam are very good. It should have been a way more epic. I was watching it last night. I found a good copy online. Oh, wow. Wow. I wouldn't mind a good copy online. Short Circuit, actually, the movie didn't give any time to think and breathe. No, it's an exciting movie. There's no depth in it. There's not really many character beats or things like that, but it's a very exciting film, and that's the point of that film. It kind of tries to do what Man of Steel did. Man of Steel doesn't really give you much time to breathe, and by the end of it, you just want to go again and do a second round. But I think Man of Steel had more character depth than Black Adam did, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a reason why they don't want you to think. So you don't think that the movie's not very good. I think if they throw lots of action at you, then you won't be thinking, oh my God, man, this isn't great. But hey, the action's great, the music's great, the VFX is great, so you won't worry about it. There's that action scene when they put that song over it. I mean, it's totally wrong. That should have been a composed piece of music. Short Circuit, also the dialogue were a bit cringy. Abraham Herrera, seeing Henry in HD is amazing. This guy was born to be Superman. I think it's the best he's ever looked. Although I think he looks amazing in the other movies, but he does feel like Superman. And it's actually a great scene. The chemistry between him and Dwayne in that scene is brilliant. It's actually one of my favorite post-credit scenes in a comic book movie. It's so good. I mean, there's not much of it, but it's good. John, it would have been good if people did not know Superman was in it. Yeah, and you know why people knew? Because they were desperate to put butts on seats. I think if people didn't know, it may have made half the box office. It may have been even worse. Short Circuit, yeah, right. Rock kind of spoilt the post-credit scene on purpose, out of desperation. I wonder if Superman wasn't in that movie, maybe that film would have made around 250 million or something ridiculous. Abraham Herrera, Amanda should make an appearance in Shazam 2. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I haven't heard anything about her being in the movie, but who knows? I know that Wonder Woman's in the movie, so maybe they're not going to go that way. I think it makes more sense to have Viola in Black Adam rather than Shazam. Considering Shazam's fighting goddesses, if you like, it makes sense that Wonder Woman kind of appears briefly in that film. I think you're definitely going to get a lot more appearances from Amanda Waller, even in her own stuff, now that James Gunn's running things, that's for sure. And I think they did set some interesting things up, like where they were holding the prisoners, which was very interesting. So there was some look, it's not a terrible comic book movie, because comic book movies don't have to be War and Peace. They don't have to be perfect movies, as long as you enjoyed them. Short Circuit, where Deathstroke might appear. Maybe Checkmate. Checkmate makes sense. Or it may be Peacemaker 2. Who knows? But it's exciting if it's true that he's actually turning up, because that hasn't been confirmed yet. But as we know, James Gunn denies lies, and he hasn't denied this rumor. So that's interesting. So there's a good chance of Deathstroke being involved. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. So be aware of that. Could be, may not be. Again, who knows? So I've really enjoyed this live video. It's been great. Not much news going on today, so I'm glad we nearly got an hour of live footage out of this. It was really good. You were great commenting. It's always great when I'm on a live, when people interact. Without the interaction, it doesn't work. I may as well record the video. So I'm always grateful. And if you are watching this video and you're a little bit intimidated about commenting, don't. As long as you're polite and you're not rude, there's no problem. I will always respond to you in a good, positive way, even if I don't agree with your opinion. But if we're all polite, I'm very strong on manners. And when you see me act in a certain way towards certain people, it's when they don't have good manners. I was brought up to be well-mannered towards strangers, and I expect people to be well-mannered towards me, even if they don't agree with what I'm saying. Short circuit, where? Oh no, I've already read that. So yeah, so if you're a bit worried about commenting in the next live video, whenever that's going to be, either tonight or maybe tomorrow, I'm not too sure. It depends what mood I'm in. Abraham Herrera, including Black Adam, there are like 6 champions, right? With Billy's family also being champions, they could all take on Black Adam. The problem is The Rock probably doesn't want to fight kids. Well, I think we're thankfully at a stage now, Abraham, where it doesn't matter what The Rock wants. But again, I'm going to go back to repeating myself. We don't know what connections the new universe will have to the old universe, and if the plans from Hamada have any context for the future, and that's the thing. So, yeah, but it doesn't matter what he wants anymore. He hasn't even got a leg to stand on because of the box office. His decisions have led them to this low box office and a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. So, whatever Gunn and Safran and Zaslav say goes. And, they'll try and respect The Rock because he's a big star, but ultimately, he can't dictate what happens in the future. And that's a good thing. You've got to have bosses. You've got to have the grunts. You've got to have the bosses. That's the natural order of things. And you can't have actors dictating what's going to happen in their movies. Of course, respect what their ideas are. Listen to their ideas. But just because these people have ideas, it doesn't mean you have to implement the ideas. And that was the problem with the old leadership. Anyone else before I wrap up? If you haven't smashed the like button, please smash the like button. It does help because it all adds up to me likes. So, our main points today are, we were talking about Zack Snyder's original plan. I had lots of fun briefly talking about that. I've enjoyed responding to your thoughts and questions about the future of DC Universe as well. And as soon as I hear anything about the future, you will be the first to know. This has been Movies TV Mad with Friday's edition of the DC Universe Daily Live. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video, whenever that will be. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Thank you, everyone. It's been great. And keep it super. Keep it DC. Keep the faith. Good things are coming.